FaZe going to continue the dominance that we saw back at SI? Because let's not forget, Tim, every team that wins SI, they go through a bit of a rough patch for the next 6 to 9 months or so. Hopefully, FaZe can be the ones to break that curse.
I mean, you can't really get a stronger test to kick things off as a brand new team, as a brand new roster, to turn up and play the reigning world champions. It is literally, you're starting at the top. Everything's going to be downhill after this. Don't worry about it, BDS. So we can see in terms of reload amounts, BDS have reloaded 1 bullet, FaZe have reloaded 2, showing a little bit more confidence in their ability to get this result done. So they'll be aiming to move up onto 8 if they win. BDS would move up onto 7 if they win. 5 if they lose, and 4 if they lose for FaZe, of course. So that is how that will play out in terms of the league standings. At the end of things, we've had our ban in FaZe. That's gone through. As a quick reminder for everybody, BDS banned 2 attackers, FaZe banned 2 defenders, and then as we go into round 4, they will ban an additional operator each. So we've got Thermite and Maverick have gone, so a bit of a double hard breach ban there from BDS. And to counter that, we've got the Electro Bros. I know you love it, Des. We've got the Electro Bros. Kate and Bandit have both gone by the wayside. So Hibana will almost certainly be, along with maybe a little bit of Ace, the flavour of the hour.
Got a big question for you, Tim. Are any of these players in your fantasy team?
10 seconds to insertion.
Surely you pick a FaZe player. I know you.
Handy.
5 seconds
Handy
left.
in there.
Yeah. I have Handy.
Let's have a look, shall we? Should we do a double check on that one?
But I don't have anybody else.
No? You've definitely, yep, you've got Handy as your diamond platinum pick. Very nice. I think I've got a couple of players actually in this game, you know. I've got Robbie and I've got Souls. I think they both have a good game.
Both good shouts, to be fair. I think, honestly, I look at the list. You've got 10 great players in the lobby. You know, 2 fantastic lineups. One, you know,
I think some
tried
have got
and tested, one new.
some have got something to prove. I think,
Yeah,
like, you know,
100%.
People's been in the game for a long time, and many have kind of seen him have like a lights-out performance where he's going like 14 and 5 and absolutely destroying the server. And other games where he's going like 2 and 11, and everyone's like, where the hell was P4 this game? That consistency, I think, has been the challenge, and I'm hoping for him at least, as the IGL of the team as well, that with a new environment of players around him, under a new org, for example, we're going to see a different P4 emerge.
Seeing the clearance coming on from Vidaking there, just getting straight in on the Monte, using that ability to smash through the barricade, to work in through electrical quickly, does chase the Goyo of Robbie away. He's going to drop the hatch back into that mid 4. Lasmo manages to pick up Cyber, and that's a really big start. 5 versus 4 for BDS, and they're almost at a point. It's maybe a little bit too early in the round, but they've got the option now for when they start falling back. The decision is kind of in their hands rather than being forced back.
The blessing is they've got rid of the vertical destruction here. The buck's gone. Like there's only, the word
really
charges to play behind. They're now gone. Souls had those in back pocket. So as far as it stands, they could fall back to site here and just let them play behind the shield. They've got a couple of C4s they can play. Oh, sorry, 1 C4 impacts to play behind as well. It's not really going to be enough to stop Vidaking getting up in your face and causing a bit of bother, I think, but it doesn't guarantee they can win the round. So for BDS, I'd just be mindful of losing any more here than you need to. And sure enough, they lose 1. Elsewhere, though, that trade gets guaranteed. Robbie picking up KDS. They can keep playing this 1-for-1 game all day long if they want to. And if hatches hadn't been picked up now, Tim, well, they're probably not getting open. To say that, there's the 2 hard breach turn openers in the back pocket of Vidaking, so they could get them if they need to, but not ideal to lose another gun.
A point to the credit of FaZe, the FNATs will be locked in position as they are now with the Fenrir dying. They're not going to be able to adjust which of those mines are active at any time if they wish to, so that's at least something in favour of FaZe, but kind of scratching to find the positives really as they 3 versus 4 down, 45 seconds left to go. They haven't really had much impact on site yet, and they're going to have to start working. This Monty is now, Vitaking's become doubly important to be a real spearhead for this attack, to be that utility, to give them something to work with. Handy manages to pick up Lasmo, 3 versus 3, and this is FaZe's opportunity now to start trying to find some space.
They don't know.
Oh, they've no idea about Virtue.
Has finally been picked off there. I know the kill feed looks wonky, by the way. Don't worry, it just means he was traded there, essentially. He's done the work, though. Robbie will collect his second of the round, and BDS with a pretty comfortable first defense against FaZe, who I think had the right idea, Tim. They came in fast and aggressive on that top floor. They forced BDS back, but as soon as BDS found that single kill, everything became about trades. It was really well played.
It was all kind of played at BDS's pace. Like you say, as soon as they get the first one, it's then, right, we can decide when we go back to site. We can decide which fights we take and which we don't. FaZe, you know, made a close run of it. They're always going to. They're a great team. But yeah, BDS managed the round really, really well. You don't always see teams do that. You know, get that kill. It's a team that, it's a thing that old NIP used to do really, really well. Talking sort of 2021, 2022, roundabout when they won SI and beyond that. It was something that they did really, really well, was they would get an opening kill in the round, and then their ability to manage the time, manage the round, and manage the map from there with a man advantage was just absolutely phenomenal, and it won them so many rounds. And BDS, you know, showing exactly why that is still important in Siege today. If you can use that advantage smartly, not just throw men at people because, oh, we've got an extra man now, go and attack them. That's not what it's about. It's about managing that round. When do you take fights? How do you take them? Where do you take them? That's what it's all about.
Sure, let's see how things build up into the second round. Then a good solid first defense. Can it be repeated again, or do FaZe learn from their mistakes? For the most part, it's the same lineup coming out here, despite it being the complete opposite side. We're not worried about the downstairs here, Tim. Everything is up on this second floor. Still sticking Vidaking, of course, onto the Monty. It's a role that he's all too happy to play. Very, very good at doing it. It's worth noting at the same time. Cyber probably a player to keep an eye on. It's worth stressing too, because historically Cyber's been one of those players that can have lights out performances at tournaments, but has sometimes struggled on the entry to really be the space maker for his team. They've often got the results they needed, but in big games when they really need to shine, it's where he stepped back. And is the first game of Reload that game where he's got to go absolutely nuclear? No, but I think to show us that he's going to have a strong tournament, we see his team making it to that main stage. You do want to see him putting up some numbers today.
Handy looking to be particularly precise there, because he's wanting to use the method of using those Hibana pellets. If you get him in the right position there, it clears off the entirety of the reinforcement, much like a Mav would do when they take the top and bottom off. You can create the same effect with those Hibana pellets. That's why he was willing to waste a couple of them to make sure he got them in the correct position. Going to come around now and just try and deal with this IT wall. They don't necessarily need to open it completely, but they do need to just deal with that mirror window and get a line of sight in through there so they can prevent anybody playing on sort of catwalk door and in IT.
And for now, just figuring out where these last few players are, making sure they've got eyes on all 5 members of BDS to know who's playing below, because there is one down there, and I can pretty much guarantee it's one of the 2 players running around with a C4. You can see him off towards the left-hand side of your screen there a second ago. Freck still unbothered here for over half the round inside a garage, set up on catwalk. He was there at the very, very start of the round, and to this point hasn't had to move anywhere, because for FaZe, as mentioned earlier, Tim, they can be a bit of a slow team. They can find themselves getting a little bit stuck and losing to the clock more than anything else, and it's starting to feel like that could be the eventuality here unless they get moving quickly.
Yeah, the Monte is going to help them do that. Vidaking just moving up onto the warehouse steps, needs to clear out the barbed wire, will do exactly that. Then the keeper barricades, a little bit of an obstacle course to be run here by the big shieldy boy. Souls manages to pick up Virtue, and here goes Handy, pushing on in, finding a kill. P4 does manage to get one, Lasmo as well, 3 versus 3, and again, BDS are holding on well. There's 40 seconds left to go, and this is not a given for FaZe.
Not quite sure about Handy here. He was kind of taking a little nap while the rest of his team went and got absolutely slaughtered. Steps in hoping for the best, but also put on his backside. It's all up to KDS here with enough HP to take a single bullet. So all it's going to take from Freck or P4 is a single shot. And this round is theirs, and sure enough, there it is. BDS up 2-0, and largely, Tim, looking unbothered by FaZe so far.
Yep, another solid defense from them there. It was FaZe, you know, yes, they got a couple of kills there on catwalk, but that was all they achieved. I come back to that metric that, you know, anybody who's watched us casting before will probably have heard me say this, but it's not something that you can put a number on. But I look at it and I say, how bothered were the players inside? Were they bothered, or were they not bothered?
Freck was sat still for 2 minutes doing nothing, like, all right, when does the fun begin?
They were unbothered, and that to me shows signs of an unsuccessful attack. Yes, you can get a couple of kills. Yes, you can bring it down to a 2v2. But if those site-based players have never really seemed concerned, if they've never been pushed out of position, if their utility hasn't been cleared, if there isn't some element of site that has been taken away from them that you've had some sort of control over, then your attack has not been successful, and you're unlikely to win the round. You know, yes, I will put the caveat on that. If you just run in and kill 5 players elsewhere in the map and never have to go near site, then of course it's not the point. But if you've got 2 or 3 players that are playing a site-based role like that and are never being moved around and never being disrupted, then you got to improve. You got to be, you know, dealing with the extensions of the defense, particularly. They paid too high a price for dealing with Catwalk there. Losing 2 whilst they were trying to deal with that was too much.
And that's what I think in this round, you've got KDS going onto the Dokkaebi. I wax lyrical about this operator all the time, but I think when you're struggling to get through the map here and you're being blindsided, sideswiped by a couple of players on BDS at different points, a Dokkaebi is a really good way to cure that. She sort of band-aids over and covers up a lot of issues that a team can have because of how effective she can be here. So now it's on BDS to be able to respond to that. But FaZe, I imagine, once you see the phone call come through, will be pushing forward with quite some force, hoping to catch out a couple of players.
Once again, not happy with the positions of those Hibana pellets, needing them a little bit lower. Like I said, you got to get it right. It is, you know, a good way of opening the entire barricade with 8 pellets, but each time it's taken 12 pellets. It was handy last time, it's Saga this time. It's taken them 12 pellets because they've had to reposition them. So, you know, there is a little bit of risk in there.
Well, at least for now, the wall has opened up to him, and that is the important part. Freck, once again, barely having to move his feet, even though this isn't the same site. He's still positioned around the same spot and looking to cause a bit of bother. So for FaZe, we're nearly halfway into the round, yet to force these players out of this top floor. King inhaling a lungful or 2 of gas here, going to find himself very much pincered in. A third one comes out as well. They've tossed everything at him and only done a limited amount of damage. Could have been to evade and dodge away from this, but it now means Robbie can't keep him at bay much more. Freck getting rid of Souls, the ace taken offline. What is going on for FaZe team? They're struggling to get control of this top floor.
I like what FaZe did there, though. They really bullied that smoke usage by getting all 3 of them used so quickly. Freck is lucky to get away with his life there, but will do so. Robbie was taken out in the mix of all that, but yeah, I like the way that King dealt with that. He took very little damage from 3 smoke canisters coming at him, and they were all within about 3 or 4 seconds. So one thing that you're looking at with those smoke canisters is to burn as much time as you can. So you want to play one, let it dissipate, play another one, so on and so forth, to burn the clock as much as you can. But he got them done in about 20 seconds, and it was really well done. FaZe are looking better here for my money than they have done so far. Cyber manages to find one onto Freck, 4 versus 3, and I think the rest of this round is going to be tougher and tougher for BDS.
Out of phone calls now, which is really where you'd hope to see BDS shine a little bit. 30 seconds on the clock gives them a chance as well. Has to be careful about the trade. Oh! Almost managed to get rid of KDS, but didn't quite find the head. KDS responds in kind. Looking good here for FaZe as you say Tim with the diffuser now going down. King holding it in place, comes off for a second, and like that, Tim, 2 quick kills. 10 seconds on the clock, and FaZe might have folded when it matters most.
Yeah, they really might. We see that flash come in, but it comes back off the door frame. Doesn't stop them, however, moving in and getting the kill. King has to hold on to this. He can't come off. The challenge is made, but KDS, he's just able to spin and find his man. And that's going to be FaZe getting themselves the first round on the board. The big question now is, how do BDS respond? We've seen them win 2 rounds. That's the first we've seen them lose. How will they respond?
Do they ban the Monty away here? Or do they feel they've got the answer to it, given they've won 2 defenses so far? I want to give a nod towards KDS in that round. It's worth stressing, by the way. Like, twice he was challenged, twice he didn't die, and twice he immediately got the responding shots out to kill the player that was assaulting onto him. Both P4 and Lasmo fell down in exactly the same manner. Bans have come on through. It is going to be Monty taken away and the Fenrir on the defensive side. So going to force FaZe's hand here, Tim. Force him to do something a little bit different. And that's going to be Bring the Blitz, of course.
I was going to say, that's going to be Blitz or Blackbeard then.
It's never that different, is it? Come on now.
It's going to be one or the other if they're still available. So, heading down to the bottom floor this time, BDS, we've already seen them defend down there in the first round. It was very, very solid from them. They got the opening kill up on the top floor, and then they just orchestrated their fall back to site beautifully. It's another one of them rounds. I would say round 1 and 2 particularly are rounds where I would say the same thing. Were the site players bothered? No, not really. And then, you know, round 3, yes, FaZe have had a little bit more success with moving them around. So they need to be finding a bit more. I'd like to see FaZe maybe try going a bit more direct to site. We've seen them playing a lot around the map, and that's fine. You can't just leave players out in the cold always. You're not always, you know, you might get hit on the flank. You're not always going to get away with that. But I come back to this, you know, are the players in site being bothered? Are they being disrupted? And so I'd like to see FaZe guarantee that. Get the site wall open. Force them to play elsewhere. Force them out of their initial positions where they're going to be the most comfortable.
Here? shield has been taken away. Instead, Vitakin goes across the round. We are attacking into the basements. They want that soft destruction. Not forgetting last time we did this, Cyber went down very early on the buck, and they didn't really have any option to get verticals opened up anymore. Hatches they could do, because the Monty had the hard breach gadgets in back pocket, but that was really all they had going for them, which forced a very predictable attack, which BDS dealt with very well. So I like they've got a little bit of insurance policy here, having a second soft destructor to play for the verticals to do some work for them. Robbie taken out by KDS, who, as I've already mentioned, is having a great half so far. Yep, 5 kills to his name. You might say, okay, it's not that big a deal, but he's just always been in the right place at the right time and taking the right gunfights.
Yeah, a bit of a situation, a bit of a different situation for BDS here rather than the first time they attacked. This time, they're being forced back to site potentially because of the numbers game. Cyber is going to be taken out, but not before he found one for himself. Handy manages to pick up Virtue. 4 versus 2 now, and FaZe are seriously in the driving seat.
BDS are almost like, we know we're going to lose if this comes down to an execute, so we want to swing everything. They're just determined to catch out a player or two on FaZe's side before they can even think about getting inside the building, but as you've seen, Virtue's already lost his life here. P4 wasn't too far away, and his challenge coming out at the same time. So now they're going to have to face off in a 2 versus 4, and this is not a pretty situation to be in.
Freck's just going to be holding that angle for as long as he can here, just trying to catch himself. At the minute, BDS are just hoping to catch a cheap one, I think, as somebody from FaZe moves into position, just pick them up on a long angle, and all of a sudden you've got a 2 versus 3, and it becomes a little bit more winnable. But I don't think they're going to get that grace, that good opportunity to do that, because FaZe, they know they've got a minute 30, now down to a minute 5 left on the clock, and they're using that time to clear utility, to create new angles, to apply vertical pressure, to try and push BDS around. I come back to that same question. Have the site players been bothered? I'll tell you what, they're about to be.
The site player, singular, Tim. P4 is the only player left, and he's got it all to do here. It's not looking pretty. King with a closeout. Very composed and disciplined coming out from FaZe. I'll give it to BDS. They tried to get aggressive. They tried to swing onto those windows to take down a player or two so it would be more balanced come the execute. But FaZe, they've seen this one 1,000,001 times. They're never going to let a team get away with that.
No, not at all. Just closing that out very, very comfortably. We're going to have BDS timeout is going to come in. And this is what I said, if you remember. After they lost round 3, how do BDS respond? We've seen them when they're winning. How are they going to do when they lose a couple? And that's the position they're in now. It's not quite backs to the wall, but FaZe have reeled them back in. They've leveled things back up. It's kind of start again at 2-2. And Liloon decides she's seen enough, and there's something that she can contribute here in attack timeout.
I think you've just seen FaZe change their approach here, where it's been a bit more slow and composed. They've not really given any opportunities to BDS to capitalize or cause any trouble. I touched on what we've seen from the Dokkaebi previously to help with that as well. I just think at this point you're going to have to reimagine things a bit and come up with a different idea. Not forgetting, of course, that with it now being 2-2, FaZe can come out of this half probably feeling pretty happy about that. I'd be surprised if they're going to settle here at just 2-2 and go on and pick up 3, maybe even 4. For BDS to come out of it at 3-3, they'll feel a bit disappointed given they started out so strong with a very comfortable 2-0. But now you've awakened the beast, and FaZe are not wants to back away from a challenge.
Yeah, back up to the top floor we go for BDS. We saw them there in round 2. They were able to get the win. A lot of focus from FaZe towards that warehouse catwalk, and BDS were able to pick up players elsewhere who were kind of, you know, left a little bit unsupported maybe because of the numbers being thrown at catwalk. We'll see whether FaZe play it a little bit differently this time. I'd like to see some pressure. Again, I'm thinking about more direct towards site. Get yourself into meeting. Get yourself into control. Get that wall open behind pillar. Prevent BDS from being able to use all of those positions that they want to. Taking warehouse catwalk is no bad thing. Completely agree. But put some pressure on elsewhere as well. Team up, get a couple of walls open, and just make them really think about every angle that you're pushing from.
Change here coming in, still some of the same sort of setup we saw before, particularly Fret being on that as army is the one I'm looking at. You know you're going to see him set up around catwalk. The one I'm most interested in, Tim, is the one you can see on your screen now. It's P4 playing on that pulse. Typically played from below and looking to disrupt teams when they step in, with soft flooring above your head. It's an easy C4 kill. But I think here it's more anything else to see when is the push coming on through. When can they try and do something about it? No smoke on sides to impede FaZe either. Of course, that has been the sting of when they've attacked him with the Monty a couple of times, but no shields on side here. BDS changing tack a little bit. FaZe sticking in towards that Dokkaebi once again. Just try and mitigate the damage these Rovers can do.
Clever drone work there, just trying to see at distance whether there was anybody playing in behind that wall to try and affect those hard breach charges from being successful, whether it might be an impact nade or something like that. Obviously Bandit is banned out, so it wasn't going to be any sort of Bandit tricking, but just wanting to be aware exactly what was going on behind. As it is, I think FaZe making, again, reasonable progress here. Going to be looking to use the little can opener, the secondary hard breach utility, just to create that line of sight. They can then go on the roof or on the rappel and just try and make life a little bit of a nuisance inside of control and electrical.
There's quite a lot to clear through those for FaZe, admittedly. Like, even the Flores Rotero drones aren't really much use at the moment because of the mute jammers that are scattered around. They've got walls that have been locked up tight. They've got mirror windows. They're sat behind the next hurdle. They've got P4 feeding in from where the push is coming in from. So there is a lot for FaZe to work through here, and you can understand how halfway into the round they've got very little achieved so far. Still sniffing out where these roamers might be, sniffing out exactly what the setup is they've got to deal with. At least getting rid of the mirror window here with Souls on that Ash. But the clock is running down as we come towards those last 60 seconds. For FaZe, it might be quite an explosive execute here, Tim.
Yeah, the Pulse could come in clutch here. Just P4 feeding that intel in. They know exactly where the pressure is going to mount from, but not much that BDS can do about that at the minute. I like this from FaZe. Like I said, get themselves into positions that's going to force the defenders to worry about it. Take their utility away from them. As it is, Virtue manages to take Handy's life away from him. 5 versus 4, 40 seconds left to go, and despite the pressure that FaZe are mounting, this is all BDS so far.
Again, it's looking like a bit too big a mountain to climb for the side of FaZe, but if anyone can do it, it's them. It's Cyber in particular. Finds 3, finally shut down, and it's into a 1 versus 1. Vidiking going in for the plant as well. This is so risky, but it's going to force Lasmo up close at this point. He's going to try and stick it. Comes up there, it's the 1v2, but can Lasmo get away with it? Yes, he can. Cyber might have gone nuclear, but Lasmo's the one to clutch out the 1v1.
Well, I think if BDS end up in a situation on day 3 where they need that 1v1, Des, it might be Lasmo that we see getting thrown into it.
Might be your man.
Might just be the man. We've got auditions all through day 1 and 2 to see who is going to be the person that could well go into that situation.
I was sat talking with the team actually over dinner yesterday, and I was saying, if you guys come into the 1v1s on day 3, who's going to take it?
It feels like taking a penalty in football,
what really
it?
made me laugh is they were like, we actually have 1v1 tournaments like all the time, like right. just as a thing to do. And it's like, and everyone's different in different scenarios. Like someone, if they start losing the playoff, they don't really care about it and they'll troll a little bit. Someone else is a real sweat about playing it as well, and they were deciding who's got to be that person. Then the funny thing is, as soon as I said 1v1, one of their ears perked up. So I want to see if he's going to be the player that gets picked in for it. I'll reveal who it is when it comes around to it, but it just really made me laugh.
Should they get there? Should they end up in that situation?
Should they need the 1v1? They might not even need it at all, Tim.
Might not happen. Might not happen.
Very funny.
We will have our final defensive round for BDS. Honestly, Des, this roster has impressed me so far on the defense. I think they're looking pretty solid. They've made it difficult for FaZe. They've stood up well to some difficulty as well. Cyber getting 3 kills there, still managing to close out the 1v1. Not easy for them. And I like what I'm seeing from this BDS roster. It's still not going to be an easy second half for them. I think the attack of Nighthaven is probably going to be more difficult for them. I always say this about new teams. Coming in on your defense, when things are pre-prepared, when everybody knows exactly what they're doing, is one thing. When you get on the attack and you've just got to play into the setup that's there, and you've got to adapt, and you've got to communicate and work with each other and work around each other, I feel like that's generally the more difficult aspect for a newer roster. So we'll see how BDS do in the second half, but so far, so good.
It's one of those, like you say, when they're really dug in, they've got layers of defense set up. That's where FaZe has struggled to break them down in time, because as a remark before the game started, they're not the fastest team in the world. You've seen Vidiking playing on Shield. You've got Cyber doing the same here. Admittedly, a little bit faster running around with the blitz. You're trying to do what his name says and quite literally blitz the other team off, get them out of there nice and quick. But I think BDS have got to show that they can play this roam game the same way they did in the first couple of rounds. Can't take that away from them. They played a really good, effective couple of rounds to begin with. It did start to slip. Very confident they can do it again, but that Dockerby, let's keep saying teams crutch onto it because of how effective it is at helping you deal with roamers, and that's exactly what they're hunting down. Virtue taking out 1, does get traded, so a good bit of team play coming out from FaZe. But Lasmo might be using his teammates as a bit of bait here. Never mind, the vertical is in play. FaZe bring things back to a 4v4.
4v3 though, this is something that BDS have done very well. They always seem to have an answer. Like we've saw in the first round, we've commented on it throughout. They get a kill and then they play the trade game really well. They're just able to go 1 for 1 for 1 for 1, and it keeps them on top of things. Handy manages to find Robbie 3 versus 3. Can FaZe cement this manpower? No. Once again, Handy wanders into an EDD taken out from beyond the grave by Robbie, and it again creates that situation where FaZe cannot hold on to the man advantage, cannot hold on to those numbers as they are. BDS always fighting them back. 2 versus 2 now, and I don't think they're aware of Lasmo's position. I really don't.
He could be the fight.
He's going to win this round in about 2 seconds.
No, you can't bowl that one. It's always KDS that should be dying, but just doesn't. Fret's going to be lamenting his teammate there. That should have been a closed-door job. 4-2. Bish, bash, bosh into the next half. But now Fret's got it all to do, and BDS could end this half 3-3. They'll feel like they deserve more.
Just going to hold the tight angle around the corner. If Fret wins this first one, the round becomes very winnable, but just missing his opportunity there, and I know it's a fraction of a second, but that can be the difference between a win and a loss. They know exactly where it's likely to be. No, they're going to go for the plant. They're going to get the kill. KDS manages to find a double at the end to wrap things up for FaZe. 3-3 in the first half, and honestly, Des, I think that's a fair reflection of the score. Nothing really to separate these. FaZe have had their moments. They've come out big in a couple of rounds where they've needed to, but BDS have also played the defense really, really well.
They've played it well, but I feel they'll be kicking themselves.
Yeah,
this is the kind of conversation you have.
4-2 would have been realistic.
This is the kind of chat you have afterwards where you'll be saying, oh, we could have won 5-1 because we did this wrong in that round and this wrong in that round. Without that, we'd be 5-1 up. They'll be kicking themselves a little bit. FaZe may even to some degree feel like they've managed to scrape through with 3 rounds on this one. Probably surprised they're not walking away with 2 or even 1. But all that matters is the number of rounds you've got at this point in the game. They go on to the defense at 3-3. Now bans are coming on through. Immediately seeing the Monty go away alongside the Maverick, and on the other side, the Azami being taken offline. Going to break away from that combo of a Blitz and a Kaid that we've seen through, Bandit and Kaid that we've seen most of the day. Still keep the Kaid away, but also going to see the Azami removed.
Just as a reminder, at the halfway mark as well as to what this match means, we've got a reload of 1 bullet for BDS and a reload of 2 for FaZe. So a little bit more on this one for FaZe than BDS. And right now, I mean, obviously that shows a lot of confidence. FaZe coming in here thinking new roster, you know, we're on home turf, we're world champs, we're going to come in, we're going to do a job. And right now, maybe not as clear-cut as they might have thought, but I feel like the next couple of rounds are a really big test for BDS now on the attack.
This is where we've seen the teams today that are a bit newer, a bit fresher, coming into this with the new roster trying to figure things out a little bit still. They've come undone because on the attacking side it requires so much more coordination. I wouldn't be surprised to see BDS struggle at this point, especially against FaZe. They are a defensive powerhouse. Basically every tournament they're at, they're topping the charts for defensive success, and I do think this could yet be a step too far for BDS. Don't get me wrong, they'll probably get a couple of rounds out of it, but they're going to need some players to go massive if they're going to walk out of this one, sending us towards overtime or even getting a map win. A few people have asked, by the way, what does reload mean? What does the bullet icons on top mean? Like, Tim spoke about this a second ago. Think of it this way. 6 is what you've got now, and the number up to the left, the 1 in this case in red, is what you lose if you lose, or you gain if you win. It's as simple as that. Don't worry about any further than that. So FaZe will either go up to 8 or down to 4. BDS will go up to 7 or down to 5. That's the nice and simple answer to it, and you'll see that number going up and down. When it comes around to days 4 and 5, if you are top of the leaderboard and you're now top 4, then you go through to the live stages. That's the simple part of it. There's a bunch of other mechanics that I won't dig into right now because Robbie has found himself dead from above. King getting himself a freebie unleashed from the shields that he had in that first half.
Yep, nice and easy kill through the floor there. We saw, I was going to comment on BDS's drone work. They had a nice position in warehouse. They were watching what was going on in IT, and I thought they were looking good, but maybe not as thorough as we might have thought because they've just walked right on into King's trap, and he's going to continue watching from above and just preventing that entry coming into that area of the map. 1 minute 40 and not really a lot of progress for BDS to speak of just yet. And this is what I was concerned about. We're only just starting to see walls getting opened up, a little bit of adversity on the attack. Where's the adaptation? What are we going to do?
Are those red bullets equivalent to elo in a way? No. The red bullets are more like... It's what you're willing to put on the line. And it's more what if you lose, then you lose one. If you win, you gain one. You can obviously put up to 2 if you want to in these first couple of days of the tournament. Day 3 onwards, you can put up more. So think of it that way. Don't worry about it too much for now. You can worry about it tomorrow when teams start getting close towards 0 and facing elimination. That won't be happy times for any team.
I mean, rather than elo, it's your points in the league. So
yeah.
6, as it stands now, they have 6 points in the league. If they get the win, then they'll have 8 points in the league. It's, simple as that.
For now, at least being stalled out. Tim, we're coming down to this last 45 seconds. A couple of smokes, and there's 3 C4s to still play behind. A lot to keep BDS at bay here. I think FaZe probably have got the number. They know what to expect. They know how to deal with this. BDS making themselves a bit predictable on their pushing towards this wall. Nervous for them.
Just watching that very long angle here, but it feels like BDS are waiting for something to happen rather than trying to find that catalyst themselves. You know, they're on the attack. They can't just hold the angle all day waiting for that first kill to be the go signal. They've got to just decide that they go in and go for it. Handy gets taken out, Souls with one, KDS another, and the problem BDS face now is that they're having to rush. They're running out of time. As I suggested, they were just a little bit too slow. They stalled out. They didn't seem to have too much of an idea on the attack. They couldn't break FaZe down, and then when they have to rush in, FaZe are ready and just cut them to pieces.
It was very similar to what we saw out of BDS in the first half, where the defense just completely shuts out the other side, and I remark that FaZe are consistently one of our best defensive teams at any tournament they play at. I think you've seen it there in that half. They've just starved BDS out, and I also remark that you see a newer team coming together, maybe struggle on the attacking side to get the synergy together to break down those kind of defenses. I feel that's what you're seeing, and I think FaZe here could just go on and win a couple more rounds and propel themselves far into the lead.
That would be my concern if I was a BDS fan. Absolutely, that FaZe now start running away from this. Like I said, BDS coming onto the attack was going to be a different thing to BDS on the defense. Don't get me wrong, they could have excelled. They could have come in here absolutely, on fire. It's always going to be difficult to do that for a new team on a big map like Night Haven Labs. There is so much for the, and we've just seen it there. And that was only the top floor side. It's going to get worse for BDS, I would imagine, because there is so much to do on a map like Night Haven. You've got 3 huge floors to work, and now they're attacking onto the basement floor, and that is just going to make things worse. Where on the top floor, you can kind of just go straight towards site and just worry about site. Now you've got all these other positions to worry about, and FaZe are going to take full advantage of that. FaZe will be everywhere. They'll be all over this map. They'll be setting as many problems for BDS to go and solve as they can.
Sure enough. There's a lot of things that they can stall time out with. I mean, look at the lineup. It screams defensive, right? It screams that we're going to dig in deep and really make you sweat to break us apart. The Goyo for time wasting, the Fortress that turns into a mirror window, the goo mines to slow them down. I do like, at least for BDS, they're trying to speed things up with the comp they've got. I speak about the Deimos and the Dokkaebi combination a lot. Ironically, the old BDS roster were the one that played it the most and saw a lot of success with it. Lasmo to also punish off the back of that. So they've got all the right tools for the job, mainly focused on roam clears. They have a good amount of time to actually execute, identifying that FaZe are stalling them out here and making them sweat a little bit. I feel like it's the right approach to the round for BDS, but as we all know, Tim, you can have all the right ideas in mind and the right players in the right positions. It can all fall apart with a couple of bullets.
Again, BDS just seeming to come to locations where, oh, it's reinforced. I'm going to have to dip back away. I don't know how thorough the droning is being. They've got 6 left on the board, so they shouldn't be short of intel. But again, it's just like there doesn't seem to be sort of a clear, cohesive plan of how they're all going to push together. They've been basically chasing shadows for half of the round. They haven't had an engagement with FaZe, but they've been nowhere near sight. This is, I won't say perfect defending from FaZe. They get this opening kill and it will be. Handy, he does get shut down by Freck. They needed to win that first fight. He actually does very little damage to Freck as well, so that is good for BDS. But they need to push on from here, get some urgency.
Frustrating as all hell having the Vectra as well with that rate of fire that you didn't find the head at all, instead just getting a little bit of chip damage really down. He knew what was coming as well, was the craziest part, but it was a great response by Frack. Give it over to him. He's got a kill that they very sorely needed. Mirror offline. I mean, a C4 is removed from the team, but far from the end of the world for them. Here we go. First Dokkaebi call coming out too, hunting their way through. Second one even, sorry. But they need to find someone at the back of it, Tim, and sure enough, they get rid of one, but you heard him. The call was ringing out. You should have known that Cyber was there.
Yeah, that's a big slip up from BDS there. He did check the top of the aqua stairs, but it's like he didn't believe Cyber won't be stopped. He drops all the way down, gets another 2 inside of sight, and this is the problem when you're playing against FaZe. Players like Cyber that can kind of just decide, you know what, I've had enough of this, and they're just going to get one kill after another from top floor to bottom. He's just absolutely run through BDS in about 10 seconds flat.
It feels like fighting shadows, as you said. Like,
yeah,
over half the round are gone. They hadn't seen anyone, but it wasn't like FaZe were hiding. FaZe were actively roaming the map trying to find them. More like passing each other, and FaZe were just being very careful and knowing where they had information and where they had control. And BDS just looked a little bit lost in that round, not forgetting, Tim, they haven't got a tack timeout to use here. You might get a mini one for a quick second more between yourselves as players after this round where you get to ban another operator, but of course the coach can't intervene at that point. Just feels like I mentioned that a couple more rounds and FaZe have completely run away with this one, and BDS are going to struggle to play catch-up.
Moving into the third choice defensive side, then it's going to be control and storage for FaZe. They need to, it's going to be much the same as they did last time. They're just going to have a presence in a number of areas. They'll have at least 1 or 2 players up on the top floor. They might have somebody knocking around in basement as well. There's a couple of nitros, 3 nitros in fact on side. Somebody like Vittaking would be perfect to play, not necessarily in the basement specifically, but somewhere where he's got quick access to basement. So again, he can just play that deterrent role. So you don't want to go in and plant necessarily because you're worried about what the Valkyrie's going to do underneath. And they will certainly try to be holding on to server, to IT, to electrical. We can see the utility that they're committing in those areas to make sure that they've got what they need to do so. And again, BDS have got a full map clearance that they need to be doing here. And that's where the problem comes in. They seem to be unable to kind of, on a big map like Nighthaven, going all the way back to the map veto. You remember I said it, it's a big map. There's a lot of strategy to worry about. There's a lot of time to be taken up. And that's what BDS are struggling with on the attack.
Got the Rower on side, Tim.
We do. We do have the Rower on side.
It's funny, actually. I was speaking to Liloon yesterday over dinner when everyone was coming down and chilling out in the mess hall, as it were, of this event. And I asked her, I said, are we going to see much Rower at this event? And she's like, we play on a few sides. You'll see it come out. Won't show it to the max of all the strats that we've got in mind, but you'll definitely see it getting used by a number of teams, us included. And like now, you're seeing it using combo with Smoke to push on through and start getting control. And look at that, Tim. They've locked out control to give them an angle straight in towards sight here. Trying to keep FaZe locked away, but no, they've missed the mark on one. Handy had slipped the net, got rid of Freck, and now it's down to a 2 versus 2.
We have a major flurry at the beginning of the round, really. There's still over half of this to go. BDS is going to use that time, and while they get in the drone's position, we'll just give you a quick idea of what Rower does. She's actually gone for the round now. Frecker's been taken out, but just applies a panel to a door, much like a castle barricade. It's fairly similar, but can be deployed at range. You just saw one on the door as we were passing through it there. There's a little target up at the top, and attackers or defenders can shoot that. They just need to be close enough to the panel, and it basically either opens or closes it. And it just allows the attackers to create new safe spaces and to, you know, lock defenders out of areas, create new angles, all sorts of things. We find ourselves now in a 1 versus 1. Vittaking versus Robbie. Robbie is low health on the glass though, and Vittaking with maybe a little bit of intel from his fallen teammates as well. I'd have to back him for this.
Yeah, he'll just hold this angle and hope that Robbie comes searching, because Robbie might not have the confidence here to go for a plant, knowing that he doesn't know where this last man is. But looking like he might actually took himself in the corner here. He's gone away from that site entirely and tried to drag his man over. They've got the ping down. He's going to spray the wrong spot though if he's not careful. Oh, doesn't matter. Was just off to the right of that ping and finds his man. Wins out the 1v1, as you say, Tim. FaZe up to 6 and 3. And BDS, try as they might, it was definitely a good effort. Just cannot find a single attack against FaZe.
BDS had a great first half. I feel like FaZe have just kind of took it up a gear. It's, you know, they've always got that extra gear, don't they, this team? And they've really stepped it up now. And BDS are starting to feel the full force. They're cruising here at FaZe. You know, I said that pretty confidently in that 1v1. Yeah, you know, Vittaking wins this, really. And it's because I know how FaZe is going to play. I know that they're going to be on the cams. I know they're going to have some intel. I know that Vittaking's going to have everything he needs to close out that situation from his team. But I also know that Vittaking is going to play that super smartly. I think Robbie did the right thing. Get in there. If you feel like you've got a space, get the diffuser down, especially on a class. You know, you can maybe then play it at range, try and play to your strengths. My point is not that Robbie, you know, isn't capable of winning that situation. It's just that King is so good, and his decision making is going to be so solid that it's very difficult to do anything against him that's going to get you the win.
Certainly not easy, and I feel at this point for BDS maybe their time is up. They definitely tried. That last round was a good idea they came in with. Just missed out 1 or 2 players on FaZe who completely dismantled the round from that point onwards. And it's hard to beat a team that have got this much experience, this much discipline. FaZe has mentioned one of only 2 teams here at the event who haven't made a roster change since 2023. They know each other incredibly well at this point, as shown by them lifting the hammer not too long ago, just a few short months ago in Boston. And at least starting out their account here with a very solid win, it looks like. I'll be surprised if BDS can claw this one back to him. Feels like the conclusion is pretty clear for all to see.
Yeah, it would certainly seem so, but let's not write them off just yet. They've shown us some good siege, just unfortunately for them, not on the attack so far. But we've seen this already a couple of times today, and at this point, when teams have faced match point, they have been able to come back with a bit of something. So let's see if BDS can do that for us now. The drones go out 30 seconds into the action phase. They're going to be looking to get themselves established inside of meeting towards control. Electrical have already spoken about this take, about this presence from the attackers. Try and get yourself in there and prevent the defenders playing in this space. Bitter King, I talk about his fantastic decision making. You can't go for the drone there. You know someone's going to be following it.
The thing is, look how many drones they've killed, Tim. 6 are gone, only 2 are out on the field. Like, FaZe have denied so much intel away from this BDS side. That's the kind of advantage you want when they're walking in blind. It's exactly when you can have the biggest impact. And Bitter King maybe fancy himself going in for afters at this point. As C4 at the ready, looking for that main breach. Could find someone out too. And sure enough, it's going to find P4.
A nice little trade, but Virtue manages to find KDS. Cyber's just playing tight on this door. He's had such a good game as Cyber. A couple of rounds where he's really dragged FaZe over the line and it could have gone the other way, but you can just see there, hopping out of the electrical window. BDS knew that that smoke canister was coming from Handy and they didn't want any part of that whatsoever. So it's kind of back to the drones now. Like you say, there's not an awful lot of them to go at. They are using the Twitch drone just to get a little bit of intel inside of electrical so they know if anybody's pushing them. There's a big concern for them. They've also got the Grim Bees out there as well. They know that Cyber's feeling it. They know that he wants to get aggressive. He's looking around this corner. Finds his man. Beautiful headshot onto Robbie.
We said at the start of this game it had been a bit of a slow start for Cyber. They needed to see him come online, Tim. He's done just that. Up to 13 and 7, dominating this lobby through and through. Makes it a 3K for himself here in what might just prove out to be the last round. Will he make it an ace for himself to close things out and open up the account here at Reload? Certainly looking to do it. 2 left standing, just Lasmo and Virtue between FaZe and a win.
You're going to see some smart play from FaZe now, and I genuinely think Cyber will step back a little bit, and he's not going to he's not going to over-aggress, and then he runs into control and over-aggresses. Cyber's going to go down. Handy's going to be on the deck as well. And BDS maybe fight this one back. It's all up to Souls. We know that he's a very clutch player, but this is not going to be easy. 24 seconds left to survive.
Oh, Lasmo! I tell you what, he's got a bit nuclear there, Tim. It's a couple of times today he's looked a bit naughty with the pistol. It was the Ella earlier on. Has gone pretty big in this round when required, but many will look at that and just think, how have FaZe thrown that one away? That was theirs to win.
I'm a little bit surprised by Cyber there, but I'm going to put it down to the scoreline. 6-3, they know they can get a little bit active. It's not the end of the world. Just get in there. Try and see if you can get a couple of kills. Finish the game off there. I think if that was FaZe at, say, 5-4 or 4-3, you'd have seen a very different ending to that round, and that is that they'd have given them absolutely nothing. That's what I expected when Cyber dipped back into server. I thought, yeah, he's just going to get himself out of the way here, and they're going to let BDS sort of bring the fights to them, and they'll cut them down as they do. But no, him and Handy got a little bit aggro and decided they wanted some kills instead, which, given that it was 6-3, they've got the space to do that. I wouldn't expect to see that again from them. I think also in the back of the mind as well, they know that they've got basement to come. And it's like I said, this for me is always going to be the most difficult site for BDS to attack because there's just so much to do through the map. We saw them spend a minute 40 running around the map last time. Didn't see a single FaZe player. They were there, they just couldn't find them. They were constantly revolving around them. And it's always going to be a very difficult one for them. FaZe will play it in the same way. They'll just get themselves out in the map and get active. Burn as much time as they can from BDS, and I think all of those factors probably play into them not really being too worried about just running at them at the end of the last round.
Yeah, it looks very similar to a comp we've seen coming out of FaZe previously. All about hunkering down, wasting a hell of a lot of time when it comes to the execute, but look couple of players that can play it on the roam too and just keep BDS guessing. What I'm quite curious to keep my eye on though, Tim, is Virtue here, playing on the Nook. Of course, that changes now what feel like a while ago, where unless you're sprinting, you don't see the full charge going down. So essentially, you can be invisible to cameras for the entirety of the round, as long as you're not rushing your way through. So is he going to be the X factor for them? Is he going to get a cheeky little stab in somewhere? He's tried his best here, but nearly gone down for it too. They knew that he was coming, and now he's got to get himself out of danger. Try something else.
Yep, certainly doesn't hurt to give it a try, but it is the kind of player that I would expect FaZe to kind of be prepared for, kind of be ready for. We know how good they are, guns up. Players like Cyber, you know, they're going to make it so difficult to win a gunfight. The tracking is active at the minute on Cyber. He's ducking and dodging, he's
pushing
diving,
behind.
he's weaving, he's doing everything he can, but it was surely a matter of time. Handy does manage to take Virtue out along the way, but this is much better from BDS, a much better clearance. This is what they needed last time. Instead, they got nothing for the minute and 20 that they spent looking. This time, they've got 2 kills.
And the key one is, Tim, they've done it inside about 1 minute and 15 seconds. It hasn't taken them 2 minutes to go 2 for 1, which you maybe look at there and say, actually, that's pretty good for FaZe, because they've still got to clear the whole map and think about hitting the site, whereas here, no. They've still got half a round to play with. This is not bad for them at all. FaZe probably now starting to think, God, okay, how can we get ourselves out of this? 2 choices, fall back towards site, try and play tight together. Second is actually try and go aggressive and put down a player or 2 here to even the scorings out. So when it comes round to the execute, the clock becomes that 6th man and you start to get a bit of an advantage. But as things stand now, FaZe are in a losing position.
Just going to see the boogie drone up above, starting to rip those floorboards up. Give it a little bit of vertical access for the attackers. And there is another kill. Freck managing to take down Souls. 4 versus 2 now. It takes a little bit of damage along the way, but he won't mind that whatsoever. And especially with the Deimos still active here as well, it just makes this an absolute nightmare for FaZe to try and hold on now.
Oh, he's finally got him down. I was going to say, surely he gets him here. Roy picks off his man. It's always a danger when you're roaming against a Deimos, and it's a 4 versus 1. Vidaking with it all to do. And Robbie's about to have another track up if they need it at this point, Tim. He is going to be dead to rights. Not that it matters as Lasmo hit like a laser beam today, Tim. He's having a good game. Really can't fault him. And now BDS, Tim, after losing 3 rounds in a row, have won 2 back-to-back and are a single one away from sending us to overtime.
I'm going to see a tactical timeout come in there, I think. It certainly looks like that. Coaches have got headsets down. So FaZe will be calling the tac timeout. They are, is it fair to say, Des, a little bit rattled?
To a degree. The thing is that they haven't played badly. Like, look at Cyber getting the 3K and still losing the round. Like,
this game says more about BDS than it does FaZe.
It says a lot about Lasmo to me, honestly. Like, he's had some big moments across this half, and it's enough. It's making the difference. Now, where the rest of his team maybe is a little bit quiet, no one else is positive at this point, he's the one dragging his team through some of these tough rounds. And even KDS, who's been very consistent across the map. I was touching on his ability earlier on to get into a gunfight, not be the first one firing, but always the one to get the kill back in response. It's not quite enough. Him and Cyber trying to do all they can. There's more work to be done for FaZe. They don't want to see this one go to OT. They want to close it out here and now. And it's going to be a top floor defense to see if FaZe can do it here and now, or if BDS send us into overtime.
I honestly thought the basement was where they were going to lock it down. You know, just as they had done before, get out in the map. But it shows. I said, you know, new teams will sometimes struggle with adaptation, with working around each other. But BDS, again, are showing a good ability to do that. They recognise what they struggled with the time before. They've made adjustments. They've come in. They've got the kills. They've got themselves the man advantage. And then they've forced themselves down onto site. Really well played from BDS. Exactly what you'd be looking for from an attack on that site. They need to go again. It's going to be up on the top floor. FaZe, can you hold on?
That's the big question. Starts to worry about the mentality if you find yourself going to OT, like past ghosts come back to haunt them.
Yeah. Well, you start, you know, you start dissecting the rounds that they lost then, and you know, 3v2. Do they need to be as aggressive as they were? Do they need to, you know, Cyber's getting out into control and trying to find that kill? Do they need to? Can they dip away? Can they play their angles a little bit more? It could have been over.
It could have been, but it isn't. Still with a chance here to make something happen, and Lasmo getting on a less mobile operator here across, of course, onto the Blackbeard. Bit of a surprise to him, because I've seen him shine, of course, with these more mobile operators throughout the game, as mentioned. Not quite sure going slow is what they need right now. Keep going fast.
Just going to be getting the IT wall open nice and quick. Thermite of Virtue will do the job. Drones will go out. BDS playing, you know, nice, and you say Lasmo's had a fantastic day. Great kills, great situations that he's been able to deal with, but they're playing nice, sort of organised Siege as well, playing in behind the intel where they can. They've still got 8 drones on the board, 5 of them active, going through there, trying to get a real picture of exactly what FaZe is doing.
No need to rush it for sure, BDS. We've seen the move with good pace, it's been the key thing, but they haven't rushed things and paid the price by not droning out correctly. Even in rounds where they've had no drones left in, they've still managed to get away with it. Here we go, that looks like it might be, I was going to say, a bit of a fast push coming in here, but stopped in their tracks by that Goyo canister as C4 finds out Robbie. Handy taking a few chip bullets as well. But for now, FaZe have got the numbers advantage. But we've been here a couple of times now, Tim. BDS always find a way back.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean anything, as FaZe have shown over the last couple of rounds. Like I said, at 6-3, behaving how they did, getting aggressive, looking for that kill is one thing. I don't think we're going to see that from them here. They're going to give BDS absolutely nothing. Anything BDS want, they're going to have to go in and take. Are they aware of the player on lower aqua stairs? I'm not sure they are. The challenge might just attract them too much to face up that way. Beautiful teamwork. Nitro comes out to draw the attention. Cyber pops up with the challenge. They know that there's another one there. Be careful of the team kill there, potentially. Handy gets himself out of danger's way. KDS will be taken down, though. However, Cyber finds Freck, and that is likely going to be all she wrote.
Wrote? Is it, though?
Is it FaZe?
Yeah, it's looking like it is. Unless P4, I mentioned earlier, P4 has those kind of games where he goes nuclear or doesn't really offer an awful lot. And sadly for him, this game is one of the latter. 5 and 10 he finishes on, but for FaZe, it was getting close there, Tim, but that tack time up was all they needed to get the job done.
Look, we can always say that teams, of course, want to come in and they want to win. They just want to win every single game. I think BDS will be happy with that performance. I would be. You know, you've just taken the world champs to 12 rounds. You've really worried them at times. You've pushed them, and you've played some great Siege. I think there's a lot for BDS. It's no wonder to see Laloon smiling, Helby's happy, he's come in there, and it's no wonder because I think there's a lot for them to take away from that game as a new roster. Brilliant stuff from them. FaZe, you know, they do what FaZe did. They had a few big rounds, but they will heat up as they go as well.
FaZe will be the ones more bothered by that result, I think, and how the game played out. Like, yes, they've got the win, but not in the fashion they wanted to. But don't forget as well, for a lot of teams like BDS and various others here, they've made a lot of changes, and this is their first time playing together on LAN. This is like the perfect warm-up for them before starting to look at stage play coming in, and of course, heading into our next event later this year.
Yep.
It's a good opportunity for them, so I'm not at all surprised to see them smiling, and it's a good thing to see because they did play really well. I think if everything clicks for them throughout this year, they could be a real scary team to face off against and a real contender to finish in the top 4 of events, genuinely, if they get it right.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's absolutely no reason why not. What a great foundation.
Hopefully may that continue. On that FaZe side as well, Cyber again is that player that we've got to touch on for a second. He was absolutely lights out unstoppable today.
He just has them moments, doesn't he? The one that I particularly liked was the basement defense where he was Ella and he went from a kill on the top floor all the way down, and I think he finished on 4 kills for the round, just whoosh through the entire map. Unbelievable stuff from Cyber. Well, unfortunately for Cyber, it's fully believable stuff. For anybody else, kind of unbelievable.
We have to start saying that now. It's unbelievable stuff from Cyber, you know, same stuff, different day. Always the way that it works out. In case you wanted to see how those numbers have stats up come the end of the game, Cyber on 16 and 10 as we mentioned. And I do want to give a nod over towards the other side as well. I think Robbie and Freck were 2 players who were looking at today to do a little bit more, but Lasmo has definitely shown what he's capable of there. Styling on Souls at one point and making him look silly. It's great stuff to see. A couple of 1v1s being won out as well. Beautiful stuff.
Yeah, like I say, I think, you know, overall, what have we learned from that? What do we take away from that? And for me, BDS, a one to watch. Great roster, and FaZe, we expected them to win. In reality, coming in, they expected to win. They reloaded 2 bullets for it, so they come away with 8 overall as their new total now. But yeah, BDS, I think we've learned a lot about them there.
It does, and that's the end of our 4th game of the day, and we've got a 5th one coming up very, very shortly as well to round things out. It was that mystery game that, of course, wasn't on your screens earlier on, but I'm looking forward to seeing how it breaks on down. For now, we'll go to a break, and when we come back, that last game will await for you. Don't go anywhere.